we are starting again the week. This is Mondays. There used to be a song called Tell Me Why I Don't Like Mondays. I don't know if you remember that. Maria-Pilar used to be about a boy who had a terrible memory on a Monday. Something happened and he didn't like every day, every week. It would remind him of something. And it's funny that I mentioned that because it has a lot to do with the collective, what we have agreed on so many things, and that's the power of being in this humanity, in this family of species that we are, and that we tend to, feel likely, think alike on so many topics. Some of them we don't, but just before starting, we were discussing some of the occurrences in the past weekend, especially in the sports side, watching all these games, the soccer games, the tennis matches at Wimbledon, and seeing all the emotions that people go through, and all the, on one side they had the euphoria and then the frustration, depending on the winner, the loser. And we were wondering how important is that that emotion that takes place, that energy that's moved so deeply in the results, in the effects, in the outcome of some of these. And then we started imagining how it's affecting also occurrences in the wider level, like in the global level. So definitely we know there's a collective mind ruling in so many ways. So
yes.
Tell me about your impressions, especially about last weekend's events.
Well, Kike, hello, and on this rainy Miami day, and while we were waiting to come live, with what we had started talking about and introducing today's topic, I was thinking, Alice in Wonderland never made as much sense as it makes now, or even less sense, right? Diving into the rabbit's hole. I watch sometimes TV shows or these sports programs, and I wonder, if you have all these, 10,000s of people watching, like yesterday, the soccer game, do the thoughts of one team or the other, how does it influence the players? I mean, it has to influence them to some extent, doesn't it? Or even the Wimbledon, I really don't have a preference. I like to watch these events quite neutrally, and you will see me rooting one in for the other. But I thought, for example, in Wimbledon, I could watch that no matter who was scoring, it seemed that the noise of the crowd was quite evenly. They applauded as much one as the other, and I always thought that was very, nice in a way. But how does that influence? The players, those who are in the focus point? We do, again, and I always go into this thinking, the cosmic, the universal, the collective thoughts, consciousness. How does it influence everything, right? I mean, starting with these sports events, and other events even. When you have, for example, even in schools, let's say for bullying, if you have one person picking on someone, that might be just one-on-one, but when you then see 2 and 3 doing it, how easy will people then get involved to, join the group, even if for example, especially when you know that people are doing the wrong thing, like rioting. One alone will not throw a rock, but if you're a group, people are much more enticed then to do it because you're hiding behind the group, right? And how dangerous can that be? And if you're set apart and you're questioned, you're like, no, that's wrong. And yet in a group, you hide behind that, right? So
Well,
what influences?
let's bring back. Let's bring the most famous quote, no, or the most famous researcher on this, Jung. He would talk about the collective unconscious and how it's ruling in the background the behavior of our society, but especially in those occasions when there are riots, there's violence. The group, just the fact that people are watching each other, and it gives sort of an authorization. No, it's like it's okay. Barbaric, things happen, and it's justified in that energy, that the unconsciousness that's ruling right there. No, you watch it also in sports. We see there's episodes of violence, especially in European or even Latin American soccer. You see the tribunes. There's people fighting, and it's like bringing the animal. I don't, no offense to the animals, but it's like bringing out that wild side, no, of humans. So we were talking about. I personally was very impressed with one of the penalties. They were in the especially the Colombia-Argentinian game. The last penalty. The goalkeeper started talking to the other guy was gonna kick. And it affected him deeply because he applied sort of a psychology there, like he would yell, you're afraid, you're nervous, you're not gonna make it. And in fact, he missed. So
Well,
these things do have an effect, and especially with younger sports people, they are inexperienced. You were talking about the Wimbledon match also. Djokovic with the other one. The other one was very
yeah,
young. So,
Matteo
okay.
Bertolini, something, I forget now exactly. And
Yes.
and the
And then the crowd, I'm
nerves.
sorry, then the crowds also play
Yes,
an important
yes,
role, either for
yes.
one side or the other.
You mentioned how in this match where the goalie talked to the opposing player and intimidated him. And yesterday, actually, we were watching again. My family got together to watch the game, and afterwards we were watching some swimming meets where the American teams were qualifying for the Olympics coming up. And there was one young athlete, and I really don't know her name, and she was saying that when she goes to these meets, she intimidates the others by acting out, slapping, warming up and slapping and just singing and being a little rowdy and just singing out loud and just being weird, if you will. But that says she intimidates people like that. And there was another one who had headphones on. She comes out to the meet and, she's just dancing and just kind of like, in her world, but just being really weird or whatever. And apparently this intimidates others. And it says by intimidating them, that gives them an edge, like, whoa, she's strong or something. I don't know. I never thought of it. I've never been very athletic to begin with. So I really don't know how that works. But watching this, and again, we were talking today on several occasions, yesterday, the Wimbledon, when you come out very stoic and you don't let the crowd or even your faults rattle you, which, the champion here had been to Wimbledon now several times. So he knows the crowd, he knows what it is, and he just kept very calm. With a younger player now, the Italian was more nervous now about, I'm at this game and I just messed up again. I'm sure that was going on in his mind. He couldn't keep calm. And how does that affect you? Or the crowd feeling sad or sorry for him. Oh, he messed up again and he's good. He could have done this. And again, how does that all play into our own psyche, in our own energy when we are doing this? I talk to my clients often about this, for example, where they say, no, I'm so worried about my children, or, if something will happen to them, what is going to happen? And I'm like, when you think of your child or someone that you love and you don't want them to be affected driving or on a trip, and I have my own children where I would use that rather than thinking of them, I worry, they have to drive back from college today and, may they be, I think of them being safe rather than not safe or what could happen, right? So my words to my clients are like, think of what you wish, not what you don't wish. In other words, how do we create anyway? The first step, it's our mind, isn't it? So whether I'm thinking of something for me personal, or if I'm thinking for someone else, if I want to think of someone being well, healthy, safe, all the good stuff, well, then let's think of that person as being safe, as being healthy, as being, okay, not sending the worry energy, but the good energy, right? And so thinking of these sports matches, then what happens? Of course, we're rooting. So everybody wants their team to win. So I'm played in my mind out sometimes,
But the
if we
question
could see the energy, right?
You can have all the good intentions and wish the best, but check your vibration while you are doing so, because we can wear the t-shirt and we can cheer and everything, but what's really happening, it could be that there's more fear than anything, there's more insecurity than anything, and that, I believe, has a lot of influence in the outcome, because I mean I've been watching games all my life, and now I do with my son, and I always wonder, I mean, what is it that makes a team, because chances are pretty much when they go to a final, the chances are they're really good, they both are really good,
obviously,
but there's a factor there, there's something in the psyche of the collective, starting with the team. There's teams where if the team members are not comfortable, if they don't feel like in that synchronicity, they don't feel like really blended and in sync one with the other, good understanding, we don't really know what's happening inside those teams. No?
Well, think about this, how difficult it is for us as humans to play in a team, to play, for example, in an orchestra, or it takes all this practice to orchestrate, to get into, to tune into each other. And in music, I know for a fact, when singers and players play together in orchestra, in a band, singing together with the band, you have to tap into something to be in sync together. Dancing, groups that dance, look at marching bands, what it takes to practice to be, in sync with each other. And then you see animals like birds or fish that swim in a school, fish or birds in these groups, how they fly. And they don't bump into each other, and they move together, right? And they all turn suddenly to the right and then to the left, and nobody bumps into each other. How can that be? And that is because they're in this collective set of mind, right? They're in a collective. We are more individual. And yet, when we are in these group scenarios, we tune somewhere in a different level into this group of thinking. And as you said, a team has to be in sync or else it doesn't work. And sometimes you can see, I think, in these group events where they lose it. They're not in sync. And you can see teams that are so in sync, as we call it, where they already read each other and they're not even there yet, and you know exactly where. And to me, I think that's awesome to watch that. When you see them, how did they know to send it in? And he got it, and he ran just ahead, and and you're far away, and yet they're in this game, and it's happening, quickly, and they have to be right then and there and do it. And I know some watching the game, it's like, oh, why didn't he do this? What? And I go, well, you're standing out here, right? It's like, tell my husband, you are out here, you're watching it, and you can see it from the top. Oh, he should have run here, should have done this. But they're in there, and sometimes they're not in sync, right? And that's what you said, I think. And the same happens to us, right?
I think we need to learn from nature, no? I was just looking at those birds, and I see it in the human, I'm sorry, in the animal kingdom. Many animals, they move at the same pace, they fly in the same direction, they make the same turns. They call that the collective consciousness of those particular species, when they know exactly what to do. They're synchronized. And maybe that's what we lack as humans, because we are on our own. We are, captive in our own thoughts and our own history. We're not in the present like they are. We carry all this information that is not needed especially in moments like those. Imagine every player bringing their emotions and maybe their problems to a game. And you watch that. You watch they do great in a particular day, and then on the next match they do poorly. And it's got to do with that, the emotional, the psychological. If they paid more attention to that, I think they would perform. Some teams, they have. I know that at least from the basketball, like the LA Lakers, they've been introduced to meditation and mindfulness because it's so important. To be in the present.
I think that is now becoming more and more aware of these practices, because you mentioned the animals as such, they have a collective identity, not so much individual. I think when we make them pets, we do change them a little, because now I can call a name. I call my cat a name, and it will come. She will come to me. She knows she is Nix. She is this one cat. She's not the other cat. So you individualize them a little more. But otherwise, a stray cat or dog, you can't call it a name. You can't say, hey, come here. It probably won't. But the interesting thing is that if you go into a different realm of your mind, when we go into this other plane, this other consciousness, you can tap into an animal. I have no doubt about it, because I have done it. And you can you can learn to do it. And when you do it, you can look at an animal that is wild, and it will react to you and your thoughts, your ideas. Think of these like horses that are on ranches that help children with problems, or adults with problems, psychological problems, emotional problems, physical problems. And I know someone who went to one of those places without knowing, and is just talking to one of the people there, and all of a sudden she felt the horse behind her, and the horse had just come from nowhere and just came to her and kind of put his head on her shoulder and tapped into her in a way. She said it was just amazing. She had never realized how that could happen. And I've seen animals respond to kindness, to a kind heart, to a peace, to tranquility, and another person is right next to you, and that animal does not approach the other person. So obviously we can tap into that. And we are more sophisticated, so we have to be more careful, because we're aware of that, I think. An animal is not aware of that. The animal is just there. That's why animals can sense their owner approaching from miles away. It's barely turned the corner of the block of the house and the pet is already at the door. The pet doesn't sit there and is thinking, oh, it's 4 o'clock, my owner is showing up. Or let me tap into my inside and see if my owner is coming home. No, the animal doesn't. It is, as you said, in this other place all the time. It doesn't identify as an individual. Now we can. And we now have to learn to be the individual with this access to also this other universal consciousness. And how do we use that power? See, because we as humans, we can use it for good or bad, don't we? We were given free will.
Social movements, activism, political. We're watching as we speak also a rebellion taking place in Cuba. Despite the control of the government, I mean, they're cutting off the internet, they're cutting off power. They're doing everything they can to avoid this to take place, and it's happening nonetheless. We were also talking about that common, shared feeling of distress, insatisfaction, poverty, misery. Has to do something. I mean, it has to be enough fuel to ignite something as a social movement. Yeah. Sometimes, I mean, it has been neutralized in so many occasions, but that doesn't mean it won't keep from coming. It's gonna come back and back and back until something happens. But people are just like feeling that the call, and they're going out. So yes, that may mean something.
Change is difficult. Change obviously causes discomfort. It causes movement, right? For example, we can think of, let's go back to the sports rather than to politics, but it's the same application, isn't it? We may want someone to win who's better skilled, let's put it this way, but there's always someone then will lose. I mean, in sports, do you have to gain? Do you have to, it's fame, money, but nobody gets hurt for that purpose, right? When we're talking in politics or other scenarios, somebody may get hurt. And then I've had these questions often in sessions, where people, it's like, I'm so disillusioned, I wonder, is there a God, for example? So we go really deep into this, right? How can God allow this, if there's a God? If there are these higher powers, how can they allow this to happen, for people to suffer like this? But those who create this suffering is not God. This is going into the rabbit hole, right? We start our conversations and then we wonder where we go with this. But really, when we can understand, we should always think of what is the greater good. If I win a match, it's good for me. It's not so good for the other person, because the other person loses and I make the money, I have my fame, the other person doesn't. If I go and steal a car and I do something that is not good, if I go and hurt someone else who I think is the enemy, why am I doing it? Am I doing it for my own personal gain? Is it better for the greater good? Do I really have to go hurt someone in order to make a change? Or is there other ways? Can we do, a peaceful demonstration? Okay, I'm making a point. I'm trying to make a point. Am I now within the peaceful demonstration hurting people? Where do we go here? What is the fine line? And we always have to go back inside and know, because we all know, I do believe that we all know deep down what is the right thing to do. So if we try in every moment to be present, and when in every moment and every day we're present and think of what is the greater good? I think we can make much better decisions, not just for us, for an individual, but if it's good for us and we think of the greater good for others, then we influence that consciousness too, where others can then also see the greater good, not just a individual egotistical good. Sometimes it may not be so good for an individual, but for the greater good it will. And in the end, then, as an individual, we will be better off as well. We just don't see it right here and now. It gets down to splitting hairs, as they call it, right? Because you can't really say, what's right and wrong. It really is it's a messy thing to think about. But I mean, if we can all always take a moment to reflect a little and see how we influence, everything else with our decision. If I don't pick up a bottle from the street, or I throw a bottle out on the street, right, and I don't recycle and I trash it, okay, big deal. It's just one bottle, right? Doesn't hurt anybody. But think about it. If I do it and a million other people do it, now there's a problem. So my one decision can make a huge difference if you see it in a bigger spectrum. And there are so many of these decisions that can influence the world, our country, society, and we try to teach that, hopefully, to our children. That's what I try to teach my clients on a bigger spectrum. If you think positive, if you go into work and your boss is a not nice person and is exploiting you, okay, fine. But don't think, I hate you every morning when you go in and start thinking like that, because what are you doing? You're feeding that energy as well. Do you need to put up with it? Certainly not. But if you can't just quit and leave, then go in with a positive attitude. Think positive. Think this shall pass and I need to look for something better. But as you change that energy within you and around you, even going to this place that is not the best place, and you start projecting into a better place, those avenues will come. They will open up. You're beginning to put these path, it's like opening path. It's like playing a game, and you're now setting it up for the better outcome to happen. You're laying out your own path. But if you sit there, keep saying, oh, this is horrible, this is horrible, this is not going to work, this is not for me, I'm being abused, I'm being taken advantage of, think about it. What are you feeding then, right? And I think there's so much we can do when we're aware of this energy and this consciousness that we tap into. What do you want to tap into then? Don't give that boss more energy. I remember my kids, there were sometimes teachers that were not nice. And I taught them, don't sit there thinking, oh, she's so mean or he's so mean. No, think the opposite. They need light, they need love. It's like Jesus said, he says, love thy neighbor. He didn't say you like your neighbor. You don't have to like him, but love him, which means don't send the negative energy. If anything, send good energy, because that person who is not nice needs good energy, not more bad. And if we can all start doing that, then we can probably have peaceful demonstrations where we can begin to make changes more positive. Okay, sometimes it won't go necessarily exactly how we think, but changes take change. It's difficult, uncomfortable. Think of going through. I think of animals. When they go through the jungles, and there is no path. they have to find water, and they have to drag through grass and whatever it is to find a path to get to the water that they need to get to. Is it easy? No. But nature gives them, for the effort they make, they will reach the water. And they will learn. And so do we, don't we, with these challenges that we have in life. But again, I think as difficult as it is to sometimes stay focused in that positivity, and we can get caught up and just spiral down, and then it's like, okay, stop, don't spiral down. Whenever you catch yourself, stop, and then, okay, take a minute, and then go the other way. And we can train then to be more in that positive, in that better mindset, I think.
And be mindful of who are you surrounded with, especially on today's topic. The others can influence or can join you in your misery or in your euphoria. No, it all depends what you choose to live. You will attract also people in the same vibration. Yeah. So it's been great. It's been great conversation with you, Maria-Pilar. You are a certified master hypnosis practitioner and life coach.
Yes.
And you are located in Miami, in Pinecrest.
Miami, Pinecrest. Yes, we're close by Dayland area, so that's very centered. And I'm also a stress management consultant. I work with past life regressions, which is a very interesting part of my practice. Not all hypnosis is regression, but it certainly can be a part of it. But there's so much more that you can learn through the sessions, and it isn't just while you attend the session that changes happen, but you will learn and you take with you, things that you will apply the rest of your life practically with what you learn, because you learn it from deep inside of you, and that sticks with you. I do consultations on the telephone. You can call me at 305-595-1699. You can call me, ask me. I'll be more than happy to explain how it works for you, how this could be something. If it works for you, I will tell you. If it doesn't, I will be honest and tell you, look, you need to maybe seek something else. But I will take the time to talk to you on the phone and explain what I think we could do and how we could apply hypnosis for you. So feel free to call me. I'm always available.
And Maria-Pilar is also a member of the International Association of Alternative and Ancient Medicine, where she also will participate. I hope pretty soon you're going to be doing some kind of a course on hypnosis or some kind of presentation. In the meantime, you have an appointment. You have an appointment every Monday. We talk about different topics,
yes,
all hypnosis related. And you can check Maria-Pilar's profile here on iam.net as well. Find her contact info and learn more of what she does. So yes, we're following so many current affairs in society, in entertainment, and we always see this. We see that the group has a lot of influence, the mass, on the outcome of things. So hopefully we can understand more how we can channel, I would say, like redirection in a positive way, all this energy, all these it's a wonderful thing to have, but you have to make sure who you are associated with in order to achieve your goals. So
awareness.
Yes. So I think that's going to be it for now, and let's hope people will take the best from this conversation, and hopefully call you to see how they can improve or go deeper into all these mysterious realm inside the mind. Maria-Pilar, again, thank you so much, and make sure you visit her page. It's beaconhypnotherapieinstitute.com.
Yes. Take care, Kike. We'll talk next Monday, rather.
Next Monday. Or Sunday if you want.
Monday.
Any day.
Yes.
Okay, guys.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Have a good day.